Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Well, we are apparently live, and I'm super, super excited to be here today. And for those of you who are watching live, which I'll be checking in just a second to see who is here with me, yeah, there's a different face on my screen. Usually, when I come live on my StreamYard, I have one of my other friends, but today I decided I wanted to play with somebody else who has a lot to share. Now, before I dive into introducing who she is and what she does, I just want to make sure I'm streaming where I need to be streaming because I think that's important too. Of course, YouTube wants to be out of alignment right now. It's been that way all week. Oh my God. Like, really? Why? Why can't they just get along?
Why
I
can't
don't know. What's that?
I said, why can't they? I throw my hands up to it all.
I've been all day long, and I kid you not when I say this, I have been trying to apply for this particular university to do some work with. And I have literally, for the last give or take 3 hours in between different events that I had to do today, have reapplied and applied and applied. My application won't submit, and I don't know what the problem is. At this
Oh,
at this point in time, I'm ready to just write it all out in a Word document and send it over.
yep, that's the thing to do. God knows I've had things delete on me.
Yes. All right. So we are on Facebook Live. Like I said, I know we're streaming on YouTube, but right now I can't get it up. So I'll go later and see that.
Okay.
So, as I said, I'm super excited to be here and super excited to have my amazing, I'm going to call you my friend today, if that's okay.
Of
Yes.
course it's okay. We know each other a while now.
Yes. So let's see. I've been practicing your name. Well, not the first name because that's simple. Brenda Adelman. Is that
I
right?
love the I love the Brender because that's very New York, as I recall,
Uh-huh.
being in Brooklyn. Edelman.
Edelman. I knew I was going to screw it up as much as I tried not to. I knew I would.
So many people do.
She is a coach, facilitator, and a storyteller. Now, interesting enough, I know her as a storyteller because, oh my God, I've had the opportunity to literally witness her sharing her story. And then, even more important, because she's a facilitator and a coach, helping others to share their story. Now, our topic for today is why is sharing your story so important? So let's start there. Why is it so darn important?
It's so important for so many reasons. The biggest reason I'll say, just from my own process of becoming a storyteller, and then all these clients, hundreds that I've worked with over the years, is that when we've lived through something big, well, first of all, what age do we need to be to own our stories? Right? It's
A
like,
hundred.
yeah, no, because it's like anybody over 40 who feels like you cannot share your truth because of a family dynamic, I just want you to look at where in your life you are not living up to your full potential, because it's not just in that place, most likely. We fall into being the child, the sibling, the cousin, and we don't tell our stories. And when we don't, I know certainly for me, there's shame, there's guilt, there's over responsibility that is stealing our joy, stealing our ability to be all that we can be. And so it's so important to share our stories. And you don't have to share everything. You don't have to throw people under the bus. I teach not to. I teach not to vilify, but I know the difference between feeling shame, embarrassment, like I was damaged goods. That all happened while I was not sharing my story. When I decided, when I got that inner calling to share my story, is when everything changed. And now I've been able to help tens of thousands of people by sharing my story and how I was able to forgive my father for killing my mother and marrying his sister. I know from teaching so many people with different, vastly different stories, that there are a lot of secrets out there. And when my clients start to share, not only did they start to heal with the process I teach, but they help thousands of people who are alone. That's why.
Yes. Yes. And it's so interesting because when I first learned about you sharing the story about your dad killing your mother, prior to that, I've known a lot of people who've had similar, of course, not the exact, but similar experiences. And in my mind, I was like, wow. Now, it wasn't at a point where like I knew a lot of people at one time, like
Yeah.
little during my journey.
Yeah.
And realizing like, wow, this is a common thing. There's a lot of people out there who have this type of story but don't want to share their story and don't even realize how important it is to share. Only because again, with you sharing your story, you give other people, men and women, the confidence and the assurance of knowing like, oh wow, I'm not the only one, I'm not alone in this experience. And I can share the story. And I mean, I truly believe that every one of us has some story to share that brings us to our journey, to why we were even born. And
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, I say this all the time. I mean, as horrific as someone's story may be, theoretically, that's really their gateway into their journey to what they're actually here to do. Like without your story, you wouldn't have the work that you do if you really think about it.
Oh, absolutely. I found my purpose only in owning my story is where I found my purpose, which was, of course, the message that came forward for me that then was life changing, was telling my story and then finding the power the courage, whatever, to forgive my father. Those are the two things that changed me significantly as far as bringing joy back into my life. And the other thing is when we share a story and share it from a healed place, because there's different stages. There's that first stage where when you've lived through something big, certainly, and big is relative. There's the energy of it being a secret and you can't tell your story. Then there's like, oh my God, I can tell my story and telling it everywhere. You're not even like cognizant of the fact that people maybe are closed off, aren't interested, or you're vilifying, or there's heavy energy, right? There's that, which is actually that productive at all, and can actually have you reliving it. And then there is, oh, I am not a victim anymore. I can take my power back, whatever that means. I do not think forgiveness is condoning or saying it's okay. It's saying, I'm not going to let my thoughts about this person hurt me anymore. Like it's already done. So it's moving into acceptance. So that stage of, okay, I can share my story. I'm not vilifying it. Actually, people can hear or see themselves in it then. But the other thing about sharing is like, people realize they're not alone, but if you've done the healing work, not only do they know they're not alone, but they know there's hope. Because I did my one-woman show about my story one time, I remember, and this woman came up to me afterwards and was like, revealed to me that her stepfather, no, actually with her, she was the only one. I have had people in my audiences whose stepfather have killed their mother, but this woman had her father when she was young, maybe like 3, who killed her mother. And she said that, and she was young, she was in her early 20s, and she said that she had hope that she could have the life she wanted because of being able to see me and see that I'm self-expressed and I have joy and I have love, all these things that when we have lived through something harsh, sometimes we just don't trust people or we don't trust ourselves, which of course is all part of the process.
Oh yeah. And again, I mean, when you talk about your story and you talk about the forgiveness part of it, and as you said, in reference to being able to trust, because when someone experiences something of that extent, it is really a matter of like, okay, will I actually be able to trust that person who did what they did? But even more so, would I be able to trust all the other people who come in my life? Because how do I know that when I meet this other person's not going to do something that this person did to me, or that I witness happening to somebody else?
Right.
You carry all that energy in your, and I'm gonna use this term, in your chakra system, your solar plex energy, which is where your power is, which then shrinks your power.
Yep.
And then that also shrinks who we are.
Well, I think for me, was, yes, yes, it was learning how to forgive myself and trust myself to make better decisions. Because if you're, if you've been brought up by, in this case, my dad, you might think that, someone like you, for me, I had a distorted sense of what love is or authority or who to listen to. Like, to learn to trust myself and my intuition was the most important thing.
Yes, yes. Now, how old were you again when this
Yeah, I was grown.
accident?
I was grown. I was grown.
You were grown when your dad killed your mom?
Yeah. I had
Oh.
just moved to California. I had fallen in love and moved to California to be with my fiance, and it was 10 months after that
Mm.
shot and killed my mother.
Yes. Now to real time now, do you have a relationship with your dad?
Oh, he actually died way back in 2004. And so the relationship was very complex for a few years after. The year after um, my mom died, I was on again, off again with him, trying to believe he didn't do it, listening to his lies, and really torn up because my intuition knew. I knew, like when I found out she was shot, I knew he had something to do with it. And then, he went to jail on a plea bargain, so he never really revealed exactly what happened. He did tell my brother and I something that didn't make sense. And then we stopped talking because I kept saying, "What happened? Tell me what happened. What happened? What happened? What happened?" Granted, in hindsight, of course, he wouldn't tell me what happened. It's not like him telling me what happened would make me feel like, okay, now I'm set. But
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many
yeah.
people are like, "Oh, if someone would just say why they cheated or this and that, it's going to make them feel better." It doesn't. But
Exactly.
he didn't tell me, and I stopped talking to him. I kind of gave him an ultimatum and said a year later, and said, if you don't tell me what happened, no, actually, he went to prison a year later, and then a year after that is when I gave him the ultimatum, and I was like, don't write me back from prison if you don't answer my questions. And he stopped. And it was a moment of like really seeing things as they are versus how I want them to be or how my inner child wanted it to be. But then I did a lot of forgiveness work, and he called me from prison. He was in prison for 2.5 years. He called me from only 2.5 years. He called me from prison about a year after that, or right before his release. And I had done a lot of spiritual work at that point, but literally I went back to being daddy's little girl. Like, oh, my dad's calling me and all this stuff. And I was alone at the time. I was still, just a couple of years after my mom died. And I got back into relationship with him. He married my aunt, right? So there was that whole side of the family.
Hmm.
And then basically within a little bit of time, I realized he got back in touch with me because he wanted to sue for money I had inherited from my mother. And
Okay.
so I was like, okay, there's another soccer punch and a punch.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that woke me up to see things how they really were. And I was like, oh gosh, I have to stand up for myself. I have to stand up to myself and this man. And that's when I made the decision to take him to court for wrongful death. And he never showed up. And, my brother and I took him to court after he got out of prison. And I never saw him again.
Wow.
But when I took him to prison, because I had done all the inner work, I didn't do it from revenge and I hate him and he only got 2.5 years. I literally took him to court to honor myself and say, I need to stand up to my father and let him know I know. And I did hope that he would say what happened. And of course, he didn't show up. Skipped town and I never saw him again.
Yeah. Well, in a weird kind of way, when you think about it, you knowing what you knew, and you told him that you knew what you knew, him not showing up pretty much confirmed what you knew.
Exactly. And I had to spend freaking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Back then I did, to confirm that this man did this and he wasn't the person I wanted him to be. But it was actually one of the most empowering decisions I made in my life, to take him to court, to stand up to him. That's what I needed to do. to
Hmm.
become my own person and to do it from self-honor,
Hmm. Now, when someone, when I'm gonna use, do you call it clients, students? What do you refer to your ideal person as?
They're
When you
clients and students. They're usually clients, even my
okay,
storytelling clients.
so when you're working with your clients,
Yeah.
what is like the sort of like the step process in reference to somebody's watching this and they're like, oh wow, she actually might be able to help me. Tell us what that step process might look like.
Yeah, so my method that I've developed, so I've been very successful with my own one-woman show because I started as an actress. Um, I've performed from London to Los Angeles, I like to say, for audiences diverse as women, prisoners, youth at risk, for schools. I have a Hero Forgiveness Award, and for theaters. And I started teaching people how to take these stories and how do you share it in such a way that really activates their audiences. And I started working with performers doing one person shows. And then I started working with entrepreneurs who wanted to really stand out, leave a legacy, make a difference in their storytelling to grow their business. And the process is the soul story method. So, the soul story method, the S is for really finding that soul story, your hero story, that event that happened in your life that changed you and you would never be the same. Um, and then, so you don't get tired of sharing it because you're changing people's lives every time, and yet it's still in service to your business or what your goal is. And then
Yes.
the really important process is O, which is overcoming your emotion. So you have to do the heal. You have to do the healing work at the same time as finding your story and crafting your story, because I didn't. And well, I don't you don't have to be completely healed to tell your story. You can be kind of have some steps ahead of the audience, but if you don't do what I'm teaching, like I went and got a master's degree for 2 years. So I stopped. So what happens is if you tell your vulnerable story, which is like the buzz thing to do, tell your vulnerable story, our psyches have been wired to suppress that so we could
Yes,
survive. So
exactly.
I
And here
don't
you are bringing yours up. It's like your psyche's like, oh my God, like, what are we
right.
doing? Yes.
So, I see all these business people, they do that and then they retreat
Yes.
because it didn't land because they haven't done their healing work. So they're still in that probably victim stage or righteous stage or just, so raw. So it doesn't feel right. So they would withdraw. So the way I teach is I teach that overcoming emotion at the same time with very specific exercises that I learned and I've been teaching for years so that you're looking at the story. You're not reliving it when you're sharing it. You're healing as you're sharing it. Like part of the healing process is doing this inner work and sharing it at the same time. Then you is really unleashing your writing and your presentation potential, because there's the writing of it. You want to be a good writer. You don't want to be a mediocre writer. There's so many people who tell their stories like at conferences or events and then wondering why they're not standing out, and it's because their writing is not as good as it could be. And then the presentation, then there's people who are good writers, but then they really don't know how to present to like grab people by the throat and tell them like you've got to do something or things are going to stay the same. You know what I'm saying? It's like learning the presentation, the performance, and then really unleashing your potential, being all of you, using every bit of your life experience and your talent. And then Elle is launching that story into the world unapologetically. Like so many people that I've worked with in the beginning, because I was teaching a class in one of my upcoming programs, I create platforms for my clients to tell their story in public, really launch into the world. Because if they start and they're afraid to tell their story, I'm like, I get it, because there's this emotional component, but this is how you leave your legacy. This is how you change the world, by sharing it in the world. So those are the steps.
Yes. Me too. By them being able to be vulnerable enough to share, even if their emotions do show up, that
Oh, good.
reality that they actually catch the audience, because now the audience is like, oh wow, this person's actually in their feelings of their story. So it's that transparency of authenticity of like allowing yourself to be. So yeah, if you do tell your story and you start to cry about it, it's like, well, you're feeling it. And then they
Exactly.
get to feel it.
Exactly. And I mean, half the people are afraid to even touch it because they're afraid they'll lose it. So that's why
Yes.
it's so important to have the exercises so that you can deal with those emotions head on, so that you just allow what needs to come out. And then other people, you know, yeah, it's like either they're afraid they'll have too much emotion or they don't have any, instead of having that beautiful moment of being present and just allowing for whatever comes forward, you know. And as an actor, that's one of those things, you just want your instrument to be clear so that you allow in the moment for what happens.
Yes. Yes. Now, I also believe and know that you have a new program coming in that an offer, shall we call it? What's that about?
Oh my God. Well, that I'm really excited about. It's probably going to launch mid-November or maybe December. I just decided that, you know, I love working with people long term. I love working with people long term because that's the most growth. Like, I love watching my clients grow and working on the mindset and working on the presentation and working on the video and working on the storytelling. So that is a high level program where we're going to be developing presentations for the stage, for video, for virtual, you know, putting together videos for course, having their videos for their websites, and then also doing the deep work, like some one-on-one I'm going to be putting in that program too, where there's really healing the story you have. And of course, I have a free challenge coming up before that. That's actually starting Monday, which is going over the 4-step process that I just shared with you completely for free.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, someone watching and they want to get more, sign up for your new upcoming course. How do they reach you?
You're talking about the challenge?
Well, both for that matter.
Well, the course is in development. So I'm so excited. I'm putting all the final pieces together, really taking everything that I know that I work one-on-one with people and putting it into a group course. The best way really is to check out my work because I'm giving so much in the free challenge. As far as learning my techniques, and it's the first time I'm doing like a VIP level still for free. I've never done this, where it's implementation, where you can come and tell me, I have so many stories, I'm not sure which one to choose, and how's this gonna, you know, help me grow my business. And people are gonna be able to show up, and I'm gonna help them with that. So that starts Monday the 31st. Do you have a link for that, or do you want me to drop in my link for the challenge?
I don't believe I have a link for that because I only have your website that you gave me. So
All
if
right,
you want,
let me
yeah,
drop that
if
in.
you want to drop that in, that would be
It's
great.
tell your story for impact and income. I'm so excited about this. Oh, actually, I can't drop it in. Let's see. I can give it to you maybe, and then you can paste it.
I was gonna say what you could do is when we go off air, you can
Okay.
send it to me and then I will add it in.
Okay. And there's
Yeah.
also, let me do this other one. So, well, that one is anyway, BrendaEdelman.leadpage, lpages.co/tell-your-story- this is too long, -4-impact-and-income-challenge-October. I'm nothing.
A whole lot of dashes.
Exactly. And then the other thing I have is my membership, which is a low cost way of working with me. And I have 30 wonderful members in there, where we just did an open mic. We have an open mic tomorrow for some of the members in there, which really shows it's a show, and it really shows people how to tell their story in this way that activates your audience, so that you're always making impact. That when people think about even something like this, there's 3 people who are web designers. Who do they choose? Well, if they've heard you tell the story in the way that I share, how I teach, they're going to remember you. So they're probably going to go to your site and hire you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's about making a difference while making income,
Mm-hmm. Yes. Excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. So if you can leave the audience with one message, what would that message be?
Oh, wait, and I'll just say that my main website is forgivenessandfreedom.com. And you can find a lot about me there. One message. I really feel like it's being true to you. What do you want? Do you want to tell your story? Do you want to make an impact? Like really looking at what you want. There's so much noise. What do you want? When someone tells you something, because I work with so many people telling their stories, when someone says, tell your vulnerable story, are you afraid? If you're afraid, come to the challenge so you can look at, is that real fear that you should be afraid of, or is it just some unhealed limiting belief? You know what I'm saying? So look
Yeah.
at what is it that you really want. Get yourself present to, the old patterns, and look, and you have an opportunity to heal those. Let those go, and then take a chance in life. Do what you want to do. Be true to yourself.
Yes. And I also believe too, by them doing just that, not only does it help them to share their story and become vulnerable and heal, but it also opens up a whole new chapter for them as well, because they've actually worked through the process of healing, and it evolves them into their next level of where they're supposed to go. So I believe there's so much more to this than just sharing their story. There's elevation to go with it.
Oh yeah, because you're healing yourself, and then you're seeing the next piece that is probably blocked because you have so many covers and masks on. The thing about writing your story down is that you get to witness what you've been through with love and compassion, and strength, and see how resilient you are, which of course opens up other opportunities. And then it also helps you to be able to trust more and collaborate more and bring people in.
Yes, yes. So one more time, just let them know that free course that's coming up next week, because it's Halloween Day. Yes, it's
Yes, it's Halloween. Dress up
Yes,
for the Zoom call.
dress up for the event. So give them that information again, because from there,
Yes,
once
that's the best way. It's getting a
door,
free sample, but it's better. It'll be better. It's free, and it'll be better than most paid classes that you've taken or workshops. I can promise you that, because I've done challenges for a while now. There are people who have huge breakthroughs just in the free challenges. So it's Tell Your Story for Impact and Income. It starts on Halloween. It'll be for 5 days. You're going to learn my 4-step soul story method. And what else? Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it. So it goes for 5 days. It starts on
Oh,
Halloween.
it goes for 5 days. What I wanted to say is you'll get a lesson a day, but those lessons, because I know everybody's busy, those lessons will be in our private pop-up group or emailed to you, but you can watch them at any point in the day. And then I'm going to be offering this second opportunity a day for you to come and ask me those questions and get my feedback. And, by the end of the week, you literally will know what story to start working on, probably where to share it, because one day is going to be part of the launching your story in the world is monetizing, finding your perfect message and where you can share it.
Yes. Now it's on Halloween. Now what time?
And that's Monday, and then it goes to Friday. 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific is when the first lesson will go out each day.
Okay, so that would be what, 12 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Excellent. Excellent. So Brenda, as usual, I love being around you. You share so much. Your energy is amazing, and I'm sure our audience, when they're watching, those who are going to resonate with you and ready to share their story, because again, it's all about storytelling, and it helps us to really move into that space to heal, and again, open other doors up, because once we move into the healing component, we do evolve and transition to the next level. So thank you so much for spending your time here with me today. Yes. And again, everybody who is interested in connecting with Brenda, feel free to reach out to her and get into that free class that she's got going for next week on Halloween. It starts on Halloween. And then you can learn more about her other services that she does offer. And perhaps that might be something you might want to jump into as well.
Facebook. I'm always on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. She's always on Facebook. We're both always on Facebook. So, yes. All right, guys. It's been real. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye.